Hello, and thank you for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, where we motivate, inspire, and empower you to become your most authentic self. Today's special guest is Janet M. Taylor of Totally Organized. You can find her at janettaylor.com. She is a professional organizer as well as life organizer. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Janet. Janet has displayed an innate tendency for order since childhood. Friends even remarked on the organization of her toys. Well, in 1994, she took her natural ability and started Totally Organized, a business dedicated to working with corporate, nonprofit, and government agencies, saving them time and money by providing contract administration, project management, and training to save clients time and money. In 2010, Janet decided to cater to her executive clients' personal needs by providing them with strategies to organize their time, their homes, and lives. Janet now uses her 20-plus years experience along with skills as an expert organizer and strategist to provide services to notable clients such as motivational speaker Les Brown, Diana Williams of 100.3 WRMB, Hewitt-Packard, Trinity Valley Community College located in Athens, Texas, the City of Philadelphia, and the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO Community Service Institute. She has also been a featured speaker for IKEA and the Philadelphia Home Show. In 2013, 2014, and 2015, Totally Organized LLC was recognized as one of the top minority firms by the Philadelphia Business Journal. Janet is a guest commentator for Soulful Sundays with Diana Williams on 100.3 WRNB. She also publishes a bi-monthly newsletter titled Totally Organized Living. She is the author of 101 Secrets to Living an Organized Life and a series of organizing ebooks. Janet appeared on the lifestyle TV show Mission Organization, which aired on the Home and Garden Network, HGTV. Her work is featured in the Home and Garden Network, HGTV, Mission Organization book. She has produced 5-minute organizing segments, which have aired on PhillyCam and Mind TV. Janet is an on-air talent for Demand Media Studios, which produces videos for eHow.com. She is also the host of a weekly internet podcast on Blog Talk Radio entitled Got-Clutter-Get-Organized, which in 2013 was named one of the top podcasts on Blog Talk Radio and has now reached over 1 million listeners. Her podcast can also be heard on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, and PAR Coalition Radio. Without any further ado, let's bring on Janet. Hello, Janet. How are you?
Hello, Dr. Angelo, and hello to all of your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining me for the show today.
I am excited about being here.
Thank you. Well, just to give the listeners an opportunity to know you a little bit better, can you tell us about how you got started with organizing? You talk about how even in your childhood that was something that came to you quite naturally. How did you decide to turn that into a business?
I was working at a job I really loved, doing customer service, and was in the process of being laid off, and I came across an article of a woman who would go into companies and businesses and just talk about how they can be more organized, and the light bulb went off and said, that's something people are always saying that I am, is organized. So did some research, found out that there was a national chapter of organizers. There was also a local chapter of organizers, which I got connected with and really got involved in working with them and learning from them. And so, went to my mother because at that time I was going to move out, and we talked about it. And so she transformed an extra bedroom into my office, and I started part-time. And in the next following year, I started a business full-time.
Wow, yes, I love that. The power of someone believing in your cause is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that woman believed. I mean, there were times, sometimes it just brings tears to my eyes. I'll never forget when I got my first speaking engagement, and I came home and I gave her a copy of the flyer, and she got so excited. And then I looked out the window, Dr. Angelo, and she was pulling it out of her pocket and sharing it with the neighbors. I was like, oh, Mom.
I tell you, moms, there is nothing like a proud mom. It just warms your heart. And now being a mother of a soon-to-be adult, the time passes by so quickly, and you think back over how much they've grown and what you think they're going to do in the future. And I'm sure that your mother, just looking at your growth, is just like, I knew you could do it. I knew you were going to be this person, and that is so awesome.
Yeah. She really believed it. She really believed me when I didn't believe in myself. I still remember the time I was going to just like throw it all in because I had a bill that was $170-something. I couldn't pay it, and I'm in there. I'm like, oh, I just have to go get a job. She was like, give me the bill. I'll pay it. You know what you can do. I was like, wow, okay, Mom.
And boy, haven't we all been there where we've had that moment as entrepreneurs. I think that we've all had that moment where we have just that moment of relapse where we wonder, is this really what we were supposed to do? Are we really supposed to be doing this, or should I just go back to what we know is tried and true and just go get a job? Because I did work. I was an employee for quite some time, and slowly putting the money to the side to build up my nest to be able to start my business. And I think we do have those moments where we're just not sure. And thank God for those people that do encourage us when we forget to encourage ourselves.
Yes. Thank God for them.
Now, would you say that, I know as a young person that you were organized as well, but do you think that even in high school you still had this sense of organization? Were you the girl with the nicely laid out locker? Does that sound like you?
Yes, it does. Nicely laid out locker, organized bedroom, closet. I was a bookworm, so yes. I always had to have things in order, and even after high school, moving into college and adult years, I still remember how organized I was. How my dorm room when I was away for a moment at college, how organized that had to be. So yes. So it's been with me all of my life.
Well, listeners, if you are thinking to yourself, I'm just not as organized as I would like to be, don't worry. We need to take a very short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Janet more about how to start down a new road, the path of organization. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester, where my goal is to motivate, inspire, and empower you to become your most authentic self. Well, today we are going to be authentic about organization. We all have it in us. Some of us are a little more or less organized than others, but Janet is definitely going to help us through that process. So, Janet, can you tell me what are some of the reasons why people seem to have so much clutter in their lives? Are people drawn to the clutter, or does the clutter just kind of seem to just accumulate over time? How does that work?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both, and I'll just mention like four of the ways. Of course, a lot of people have seen the shows on hoarding or the hoarders. And a lot of times, they're looked on negatively, but a lot of times there's a lot of different things going on in their brain as to why they're hoarding. I mean, the simplest reason is sometimes We just see it. You know, as a child, my mother saved everything. She saved the containers that the margarine came in. Next thing I know, I was an adult and I was doing the same thing. And so therefore, it was just changing that way so that now instead of saving the containers, I buy margarine and butter in a stick form. So there's nothing to save. But also, I worked with a client who had rolls of toilet paper everywhere because in his mind, when he was in the service, there was a lack and it was scarce. So when he saw one roll, in his mind it triggered he had to go to the store and buy a case. So it was just simply putting it all in one place so that he would know, okay, I've got 12 rolls, everything is okay. But when he saw that one roll, it was a trigger. So hoarding. Another reason is a deferring or delaying a decision. I will open mail tomorrow. I will read the newspaper tomorrow when actually every day has the same amount of hours, so there's no more or no less than any given day. And a lot of times deferring and delaying is because I just don't want to deal with it. And then, of course, there is that whole perfectionism where everything's got to be, you know, I've got to have all the right hangers. I've got to have all the same color containers. Everything's got to be nicely labeled or else I won't do it. And, of course, the last, which a lot of us fall into this category, and, you know, I've fallen into this category a few times myself, is the sentimental stuff. The stuff that belongs to somebody, a memory. You know, I got rid of my prom dress when I was in my 30s. It could be something from my childhood. It could be something that triggers happiness or something we're just not ready to let go of. We hold on to that. So those are a lot of the reasons why. And sometimes when you just kind of identify with it and you realize, okay, I'm holding on to this T-shirt from a guy who I haven't seen in 20 years, maybe it's time to let go. Or, you know, I've got all the containers. Okay, so I don't have a label maker, but I've got a printer, so if I just print the labels and tape them on the containers, at least I'll be able to find everything until I get to that space where I have a label maker. Or, you know, when you come home, you know, just taking things out of the bags, not leaving them in the bags, because what happens, you leave them in the bag by the door, the doorbell rings, unexpected company, you shove everything in that closet, and then spring comes, you're like, oh, this is where the socks were that I bought. So it's just it's just figuring out what's really going on and then just kind of figuring out, okay, I need to deal with this and how can I just do something different.
I love that you said, how can I do something different? For those who follow me on social media, that's something that I shared on Periscope the other day, something I shared on Instagram. And shifting our paradigm, changing the way that we look at how we do what we do, and sometimes asking yourself, how can I do this differently? Just changing your perspective can really change the outcome of what you've been doing. But so many times people just get stuck in the tradition or the rut or the complacency, or sometimes just in that comfortable place of just being on autopilot and just doing things the way that we've always done them. And you don't even think about it. You don't even think about it. And I love how you said you just kind of scoot it over, and then you find it next season. It's like, aha, there it is. I know someone raised their hand there and said, yep, that was me. That was me. I think that's been all of us. We have all done that.
Yeah, and that's why I said when I realized that day when I opened up my cabinet and saw all of those containers, those margarine plastic containers, and realizing I had become my mother, which isn't a bad thing, but I realized I've got the plastic containers and I've also got food storage containers. And it's just me. So what can I do? So I started buying things in a stick form. Therefore, once I'm finished with that stick of butter, it's done. And I just throw it out. I don't, because if I continue to do, I'll always think of a reason well, it's a good little container, and I can use it for this and that and the other. So you just have to think, like, differently.
Mhm. Mhm. And it's really interesting because when you said buy the stick of butter, that totally makes sense. Because when my children were little, and I mean really little, and they were still doing arts and crafts, you think of, if you have that this type of mindset, you're always thinking of how can I upcycle this, or how can I recycle this, or
Mhm.
what can I turn this into a craft, or can I turn this
Mhm.
into something for your children, for your little people. But even still, if I'm hearing you correctly, we need to let that go. Don't save
Mhm.
every container for a future project.
That's right. And I'm working with a client now and teaching her how not to, because she doesn't want to be wasteful. And I said it's not about being wasteful. It's about looking at your space, and how much storage you have, and also how you want to feel when you are in your space. Do you want to feel like the walls are coming in, or do you want to just feel relaxed and have it be a haven? And I think when you begin to think like that, then you begin to look differently at all the stuff that sometimes gets accumulated in our homes and in our lives.
Mm-hmm. I know that I feel much better in a clean and organized space. The more stuff that's around, it just really has a spirit of chaos.
Mhm.
And it just really and truly bothers me. So I know there's someone out there listening saying, yeah, I do notice when there's stuff all over the floor, if you're stepping over clothes, if you're having to move stuff off of the countertop every time you go into the kitchen, this is hitting home for you. And you really, really start taking your notes if you haven't, because it's going to get even better. Let me tell you, because here's the next question for you, Janet. How does someone get started? So they have all this stuff everywhere, and if there's a different way to tackle each room, please tell us. But how do you just keep from screaming, standing in your house and going, something has got to be done?
Well, there is a different way to tackle each area. I mean, for example, in the bedroom, I will always say tackle the bed first. If you cannot sleep on your bed right now, you need to tackle that and figure out where those things that are currently being accumulated on your bed need to go. But really, with starting, I would always say first think of how you want to, maybe what room you need to start in. Maybe you do need to start in the bedroom because maybe you need to get a good night's sleep. Or maybe you have decided this is the year I'm going to take care of my body, my health, so maybe you need to start in the kitchen. Or maybe because everybody in the family is just a chaotic morning, maybe that bathroom needs to be just a little reorganized so everybody can find their things, and then you don't have somebody spending an hour or more in the bathroom just trying to pull themselves together. Or maybe it is wherever you are, you're going into a different season, maybe like a winter season, a rainy season, and you would like to be able to just drive the car in the garage so you're not getting wet, snowed on, whatever. So those are some of the things that really help you decide where to begin and how to start. Think about what is important to you right now. Start there, and then I'll tell people to begin a planning session. Okay, now that you've decided on a specific area, what do you want to accomplish? Do you want to be able to drive the car in the garage without running over the bikes? Okay, then you need to think of some storage. Do you want to be able to come home and just be able to lie on the bed? Well, then maybe you need to look at the storage in your closet or get rid of things. Or maybe that room that has become a junk room, you want it to be a craft room, an extra bedroom. So just sit down and just kind of do some planning as to what you want them to look like, what things you may need. And then after you've had your planning session, you schedule the time when you go in and you roll your sleeves up and you just get started. And even with that, plan your steps. Maybe the first thing is just getting rid of everything that needs to go in the trash, needs to be recycled, needs to be donated. And then once you can see what's left, then I tell people to really think about what type of organizing products they need, because 80% of the stuff we keep, we never reference again. So once you get rid of the stuff you don't need and have what's left, then I would advise you to go out and get the products and the tools that you need to organize what's left. Because when sometimes you look at everything in the room as it is, you go out and spend money on a lot of those containers, and you don't need to. And sometimes just going through your stuff, you'll realize you already have all the supplies you need.
Yes, that is so true. I've noticed that even on like the show that you were on, how they say you tend to have something in your house that you can pull from another room without having to purchase something brand new. Okay, because you simply forget about stuff. Like you said, you kind of scooted it into the closet and you forgot you put it in there last season. So now you're able to pull that particular thing out and utilize it for its purpose. Okay. Now, I do have a question about creating like a baby's room. I know that many people work from home, and we don't tend to have problems with creating a home office because we know the things that we need, like a desk and a chair, and whether or not you want to sit looking out the window or not. But for babies' rooms, I remember when my little ones were about to be born, everyone seemed to have that moment of almost, I'm going to call it nursery panic, where it was, well, what should the baby's room look like? And what, like you couldn't remember that you needed a crib and a changing table and all of these things. Is that just jitters of a first-time parent, or is it really something special about creating a nursery?
I think most of the time it's the jitters, because you've got 9 months now. Some people have a little bit more, maybe a week or two more, but you have 9 months. So I think a lot of it is the jitters, because I know people who, their kids are in college now and they never had the baby's room pulled together. So I think it's that. But in regards, it's just getting the key pieces. Like, you need the crib, you need a changing table. Because of the size of the clothes, you're going to need some type of dresser. And then also with the closet, I would make it, and I would have it designed so that it can grow with the child. So even if you do have other rooms where, as children grow, you can put them in, but it's sometimes just making it so that the shelves and the fixtures can adjust. So when they're a toddler, you can have it one height. Then as they get older, you can kind of adjust the heights. And even if you just decide to keep it a nursery, then you can still have the adjustable shelves, because then when the children are older, you can take those shelves out, maybe put some other kind of fixtures in. But I will always advise people to do that. Make sure when you design that closet that it has some flexibility in it, and it can grow with the child and with the family as well.
Great tips, Janet. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that we have to pause for a moment and take a break, but before we do that, please let everyone know, just in case they tuned in a little bit later, how do they get in contact with you?
They can always just go to my website at Janet M. Taylor, that's Janet, M stands for Marie, Taylor, TAYLOR.com.
All righty, listeners, we need to take a very short break, but when we get back, we will continue speaking with Janet M. Taylor of Totally Organized. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, where we motivate, inspire, and empower you to become your most authentic self. Today we are talking about organization, how to organize our lives, our professional lives, and, of course, how to just downright be awesome in the space in which we have to share our lives with other people, be it that's at home or at work or even at church, because we're going to talk a little bit more about how do we maintain order, how do we maintain that sense of peace amongst ourselves by creating certain environments. So, Janet, that is one of my questions. I like to talk about mind, body, and spirit, and making sure that we are our most authentic self, but our most balanced self as well. And in creating a sense of balance, I know that order is one of those words. So how do we go about becoming orderly in our lives, and especially when it comes to organization?
Well, I feel that the first thing you need to do is, of course, you need to look at your time, your schedule, because you need to be able to not only do the things you have to do, but, of course, do the things you love to do. And I think what people don't realize is, yes, we are given 24 hours in a day, but of those 24 hours, we have, of course, the 8 that we're really supposed to sleep because, we need to rest. We need to relaxation. We need to just kind of give our brain a moment just to kind of just be still. But then, of course, we need those 8 hours where we either work outside the home, inside the home, run a business. So that gives us roughly maybe 8 hours on average. It could be a little more, a little less for everyone else. That is what we have to work with, to do all the stuff that some of us feel that we're trying to cram 24 hours worth of activities into those 8 hours. So when you think about it like that, then you really realize what you have to work with. And I think when people need to think about the travel time, they don't give that time. You need downtime in order to go from one activity to another, especially when sometimes you're a consultant. You're going from one client to another, or maybe you are going from running a team all day to coaching somebody at night or going home with the family. So you really need to look at your time, but in all of that, also look at your space as well, because when you come home, if you see clutter, that means you're coming home to clutter, chaos, and confusion. Mm-hmm. And you need a space in your home where you can just, let go of the day, sit down, relax, and enjoy your family. Make sure the dining room table, the kitchen area is organized so you can come together as a family. Make sure the bedroom is at a place where it's nice and organized so you don't feel stressed when you walk in because there's piles everywhere. And even when you're you have a home office, whether it's to manage the home or manage your business, make sure it is organized and things are orderly. So, one, if you're running a business, you can attract the client and the income you want, but also if you are managing your home, making sure that everything is organized so you can do that more effective and efficiently as well.
Mm-hmm. Effectively and efficiently. Love those words. Love those words. Because it really and truly does make your life feel better. People are so surprised when I ask, when they're doing a session with me, and I ask the same set of 3 questions every time someone calls in or they visit with me, and it gives me a sense of where they are for the day or for the week. And when I ask about, how was work? How were you? How was your family? They may not be able to piece follow the direction in which I'm going. Why is that important? Why do you always ask me those questions? But when something's bothering you and that's your moment to say, you know what, my husband is a mess, or my wife is a mess, or my kids have my house in a total disarray, and you're able to actually blurt it out with no judgment, and you know that I'm going to feel better once I say this, and then I can actually start to address what's going on in my life, and I can point them in the direction of someone who is a resource, such as yourself, and say, you know what? You should listen to this podcast. And she tells you how to declutter. You'll be surprised at just the relief that people seem to have, and like, thank God there's something that I can do, and I don't have to run away from my family. I don't have to run away from work because everything is in such disarray.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think sometimes people don't even realize so many benefits to being organized. I mean, of course, you'll be able to find things the first time, saving yourself time looking for things, but also money, too, because you won't buy something you already have. But also, I mean, for me, it gives me joy when, teenagers come over and they just, like, lay all on my floor and just – or either we can sit on the sofa together and have a good conversation about what's going on in their lives and just in the world, or when my friends come over and all of a sudden they sit down, next thing I know they're falling asleep because it's a peaceful place, and that's what you want your home to be, not just for guests but for you. You want it to be so nice and relaxing, and just your own little, like, personal sanctuary. And not that every time you come in the house, because there's so much stuff, you just want to go right back out the door.
Man, yes. I have been to, wasn't my friend, but a friend of a friend. I need to stop off really quick. Can you go with me? Sure, of course. And I went in and just, you go, wow. Oh, this poor person. Being a counselor, I think, wow, this poor person is really, they're hurting. Something is going on because this is just not the norm. Like you were talking about in the beginning, especially with people that are starter hoarders, or they're beginning their hoarding tendencies. And you really see that the disarray is so much more than just a laziness of not wanting to throw the pizza box out, or not wanting to get rid of that third set of whatever it is, that there really is something going on there. And it does have a feeling. It does have like a vibe in the room, and it's wonderful to stay with someone who gives you that warm, cozy feeling. It really is nice. That's something that, if you are a brand new homemaker or a brand new wife, we talk about that in premarital counseling. How do you want your house to feel? What do you think is the atmosphere of your home, and how do you create that oasis? And I love that you said that it is about creating that sense of order within the home. Along that same vein of creating the order, are there any quick steps that people could take to make sure that they stay organized? Is there like a 1, 2, 3, or anything that they can do to maintain that sense of order once you've given it to them?
Well, I always tell people, of course, when the mail comes in, designate a specific spot for the mail, not on the counter, on the coffee table, on the end table, just one specific spot. And, if you can do it that same day, go through, get rid of the junk mail, so at least all the mail you have to handle is in one spot. But if not, create a day during the week that will be your administrative day. So you can go through, open the mail, see if, of course, we all know what the bills look like, but if there's anything else that needs to be taken care of, you will stay on top of things like that. Also, I tell people with the circulars, we get all the circulars from all the wonderful places that we can shop, but if you don't shop there, recycle it. Recycle newspapers that you've read. In regards to your clothes, when you have not worn something in a while, consider, if it's still usable, consider donating it, giving it away to somebody who could really appreciate it, so that you can actually have room in your closet for the things that you love, and get rid of the things that somebody else can use. And the same with household stuff as well. One of my neighbors said, Janet, I have 2 soup bowl sets. I liked it so much that I bought a set, but then I wound up winning a set. She said, so I'm going to donate a set. So sometimes just knowing that you need to kind of let go of things. Another client decided to get rid of the everyday dishes. She said I had everyday dishes and good dishes. I decided to eat off the good dishes every day.
I'm with you on that one. Every day should be a day to be celebrated. Stop waiting for just Sundays or Christmas to use your good china and, grandmother's silver. Enjoy yourself. Eat off of the good dishes. That's right.
So it's just doing just little things like that. If you have duplicates, get rid of them. If you have something that you keep saying, I'm going to get it repaired. Well, how much is it going to cost? I have a laptop, which I loved. It was small. It was portable. It stopped working. I went to the guys. They said, it's going to cost you about $300-400. I said, thank you so much. I can actually buy a brand new laptop for that, okay? So it's just, it's just knowing those little things, but it's just getting rid of things. And also sometimes it's just knowing when it's time. I recently got rid of the dollhouse that I had forever because it was a dollhouse my mom bought, and it was, in my mind, I was going to get married, and I was going to have a little girl, and I was going to give her that dollhouse. Well, that was not my journey in life. So then, of course, my goddaughter came along. She didn't want it. Okay. Well, all right. So I decided, and I gave that away. I had a little Noah's Ark I gave away, and I actually sold both of those things. But you know what? It gave me pleasure because the person who bought my little Noah's Ark was a teacher. And she said it was so nice because all they had was an ark in her classroom. She said it was nice to be able to have Noah and the animals so I can explain to children the story, and I would be able to. So, it's hearing stories like that. Even when I sold my dollhouse, one was like, this is just so wonderful and blah. So sometimes you can bring joy to people with the stuff that we're holding on to, and you can just let it go. So whether you donate it, whether you sell it, however, but make room in your house for the stuff that you love. Get rid of the excess. And I tell people it's okay to have space. I think some of us were brought up, if there's space in the house, you have to fill it. You can have space. You can have an empty drawer. That's what I want to say. You can have an empty drawer. It's okay. If somebody opens your drawer and it's empty, it's okay.
Yeah, when they ask you what's in that, when you say nothing, what's supposed to be in there? Nothing. That's my empty drawer. I love it. Yes. I love it. That is my space for nothing. Yes, I absolutely love that. Because we all need room to kind of maneuver. Yeah. We all need room to move around, and that empty drawer could represent just that room to move around. I love it. I love that. Well, as an entrepreneur, and I know that not everyone does this, and this is not some type of, I'm trying to get into your mind or anything like that, but just a curiosity question and something that I ask everyone. Do you Google yourself?
Oh, yes. Yes. You have. I feel like I have to. And it's interesting because my godson, who's in his 20s, he said, I understand why you Google yourself, Aunt Janet. I understand it. And yes, I do. I understand it just to, one, of course, see if I'm into, if I do Google myself, do I come up, and what pictures come up, and what articles come up. So, yes, I want to know that if somebody, if they, all they know is my name, they type it in, and boom. Whatever's out there will direct them so they can get in contact with me. And just to make sure that everything is,
the way it's supposed to be, nice and organized. I hear you.
Yes.
Well, Janet, thank you so much for being on the show today. And we unfortunately have run out of time because I could talk to you just all day. You are such a joy to speak with. And I want to make sure that our listeners are able to get in contact with you as well. And answer this as well. If they want to work with you, do they need to be local, or can you work with everyone, in the United States, or if they're traveling, can And are they still able to utilize your services? How does that work?
Yes, they can. Of course, my website is janetmtaylor.com. And, yes, I work with people on a global level. I do what they call online organizing. I actually had a session this week with someone from Ireland. And basically we talk. You can email me pictures. We can do Skype. We can do FaceTime. So I can actually see your space and give you strategies on how to live a more simpler and organized life.
Janet, thank you again for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angela.
Well, listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. And I would like to remind you that eagles don't fly with pigeons, so neither should you. Until next time, everyone, let your light shine. Have a great day. Bye-bye.